something very important about citizen also. It's the fact that we not only belong, but we also have rights. You can say, I'm an American citizen, I have rights, and I know my rights, and I'm going to enforce my rights. If someone trying to trick you or something, right? You know you have rights. But don't mistake it, because in order for you to have rights, you also require to be a citizen. But in order for you to have rights, it's required for you to be a patriot. Because some people take advantage of the citizenship. So I am a citizen, I have my rights, and that's all they want. They want, come to me, but they don't give anything. They don't want to do anything about it. They're citizen because they were born as a citizen, but not because they are patriot. And being patriot is the most important thing of being a citizen. Being a citizen, anyone can be. It's very important, and being a citizen is required for us to be patriot. Let me change this fan route here because it's blowing my papers. I want to invite you to open your Bibles this morning, the book of Genesis, chapter 12. You probably know that story by heart, the story of Abraham, but I'm not going to read the whole story of Abraham. I'm just going to go through the first verse here when God was talking to Abraham. So how Abraham knew it was God talking to him. Because Abraham was friend of God and God was friend of Abraham. So your friend calling you, you know the voice. Oh, I know who's this. So Abraham knew where was God. And now God was talking to Abraham and he said, go, chapter 12 verse 1, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. Now, Abraham could have said a bunch of things to God and said, God, I am comfortable here. This is my country. I am a citizen here. Why am I going to leave my country to go a place that I'm not a citizen? I'm probably not going to be welcome. Why am I going to choose that place? I have rights here. I'm a patriot. I'm right here. I have everything here. My family lives here. But our Bible says that Abraham packed it up and left. He obeyed God. Now, why did God ask Abraham to move? Because God had a plan. God had a plan and Abraham was involved in his plan. And in order for God to fulfill his plan, he had to move Abraham from where Abraham was to where Abraham was going. And God had to fulfill his plan. And Abraham was part of it. And to be honest with you, friends, any time that God asks you to move, to do something, to fulfill his plan, don't feel ashamed to do it. Because it's a privilege to be part of fulfilling God's plan. And also I want you, let's flip the page towards 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 24. We have another example here. Chapter 24, we're going to read starting in verse 10. This is some other people that God used to fulfill his plan, and they have to leave their place that they were leaving, the place that they were citizen, to be in a foreign country. In verse 10, chapter 24, verse 10 on, it says, at that time the servants of the king Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came up to Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to the city while the servants were besieging. King Jehoiakim of Judah gave himself up into the king of Babylon, and he gave himself and his mother, and also his servant, his officers, and his palace officials, and the king of Babylon took him prisoner to the 8th year of his reign. And it goes on in verse 13, it says, he cared of all the treasure of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house. He cut pieces of the vessels of gold and temple of the Lord, which the King Solomon of Israel had made. And this was the Lord had foretold. He carried away all to Jerusalem, all the officials, all the warriors, 10,000 captives. 10,000 captives were left, was taken captive to Babylon. And he goes on here and he says, 10,000 captives, and all the artisans and smiths and remain, except the poorest people of the land. He carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon. The king's mother, the king's wives, the king's officials, the elite of the land. And he took into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. The king of Babylon brought captives to Babylon all the men of valor, 7,000, the artisan and smith, 1,000, and all the strong and fit for war. The king of Babylon made Mattaniah, Jehoiakim, uncle, king in his place, and changed his name to Zedekiah. You see how many people were now taken out from their country just because they didn't listen to God. But among those people that were taken by Nebuchadnezzar to Babylon, there was those that were very loyal to God too. And among those were Daniel and his 3 friends that the Bible mentions very well in the book of Daniel. Why? Why God let that happen? Daniel could have questioned God and said, God, I am loyal to you. I've been serving you my whole life. I'm still learning things, but I'm serving you. I'm loyal to you. My friends are loyal to you. Now you let me, they take me from my land, from my country, or where my citizenship is, and brought me to a place that I don't know anybody, that all these people here worshiping and eating and doing whatever they want to do, where I am an alien. I don't have any citizenship here. But God had a plan for the life of those Hebrews. To fulfill His plan, that had to happen. And we know the rest of the story, how Daniel fulfilled God's plan in Babylon. How Daniel spread the gospel there in Babylon. How Daniel talked to Nebuchadnezzar and everyone else about God. You don't need to be a citizen to talk about God. All you need is to talk about God. And God, to fulfill His plan, He let that Daniel and his friend would go to Babylon. And we just studied the book of the Galatians in Sabbath school, and we talk a little bit about the life of Paul. Paul was one that also had a dual citizenship. You see, citizenship is a very peculiar thing. You have to be citizen of a country. You cannot say, I'm not citizen of any country. You have to be a citizen of a country. But there are some countries, they don't let you to be a citizen of that country and another country. The United States is one of them. If you're an American citizen and you decide to go to England, you can be England citizen. But you only can be an England citizen if you give up to your American citizenship. You cannot, the United States do not accept you to be American and another country's citizen. I came from Brazil. I have dual citizenship because Brazil accepts me to be Brazilian and to be American. But the United States doesn't. And you know who else don't? God. You're a citizen. You read what Paul read. You're a citizen of God's kingdom. He chose you. He predestined. He said, you are citizen of my kingdom. I chose you to be citizen of my kingdom. And God doesn't accept you to be citizen of any other kingdom but His. So you have to make a choice. You have to choose. If you don't want to be citizen of God's kingdom, that's fine. You were born as a citizen, but you can renounce your citizenship with God. Or you're a citizen with God, God's kingdom, or you're not citizen of God's kingdom. Once a farmer went to the forest. They left the cars open. Should I wait and come back? While they return, let's open our Bibles in the book of Acts, chapter 22. Since we're talking about Paul, let's take a look in the book of Acts, chapter 22. Because we spoke about Paul being a citizen, and it's important that we understand what Paul did, because sometimes we make a wrong use of our citizenship. We just want to take advantage of being a citizen. We just look at our rights. We just look at what we have, what the country can do for us, but we don't look at what we can do for the country. We don't look what we can do for the kingdom of God. And here on verse 22, chapter 22, starting verse 22, Paul was Paul said that was the time that Paul was arrested in Jerusalem. Paul was arrested in Jerusalem, and then Paul was giving him a chance to speak to the congregation, to the public. It was a big group of people there, and Paul now started speaking to them. And again, we read that in Sabbath school, that Paul started telling his story of his conversion. Paul was telling that what happened to his conversion. And as he started talking his conversion, he started talking, and when he said that he was sent to preach the gospel to the Gentiles, everybody got mad at him. And he says in verse 22, said up to that point, they were listening to him, but up to that point, they stopped listening to him. And they shouted, "Away with such a fellow from the earth, for he should not be allowed to live." And while they were shouting, throwing off their clothes, and tossing dust in the air, the tribune directed that he was to be brought into the barracks. And he ordered him to be examined by flogging to find out the reason of this outcry against him. But when they had tied him up with thongs, Paul said to the centurion who was standing by, "Is it legal for you to flog a Roman citizen who is uncondemned?" When the centurion heard that, he went to the tribune and said to him, "What are you talking about? What are you about to do? This man is a Roman citizen." The tribune came and asked Paul, "Tell me, are you a Roman citizen?" And he said, "Yes." The tribune answered, "It cost me a large sum of money to get a citizenship." Paul said, "But I was born a citizen." I was born a citizen. Like Paul, friend, we all born citizen of God's kingdom. We're all born citizens of God's kingdom. But in order for us to be born, in order for us to take that citizenship of God's kingdom, we have to be patriots. We cannot say, "No, God adopted me as His citizen of His kingdom, and I am going to be forever citizen of His kingdom. Doesn't matter what I do." And that's the wrong idea. We must be patriots. Once a farmer went to the forest to pick up a bird for his home, to put in a cage in his home. And as his endeavor to pick up a bird, he ended up picking up a little eagle. Eagle is the symbol of America, right? He picked up a little eagle. But when he got home, he didn't know what to do with the eagle. And he said, "Well, I'm just going to put it here with the chickens." And he put the eagle there with the chickens. And the eagle started growing with the chickens. And by the time went by, and the eagle started growing and growing, started eating with the chickens, and acting like a chicken, and being just like a chicken on the ground. One day, the biologist came to that farmer, and he was talking to the farmer, and he said, "Listen, I noticed that you have chickens here, but I noticed there is a weird chicken there on your yard. And he said, because that's not a chicken. I mean, it's a chicken now, but it used to be an eagle. I said, I can't believe that. You have an eagle in your yard? But yeah, I picked up in the forest. But now it's a chicken. Now, an eagle, it's always an eagle. You can't change an eagle to be a chicken. And he said, no, it's grew up with the chickens and now became a chick. They act like a chicken. And it's going to be a chicken. It's on the ground. You can see that. So now I refuse to accept that, the biologist said. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you that that is not a chicken, but it's an eagle. It was born to be an eagle. And he said, I'll prove it to you tomorrow. I'm going to do that. The next day, he picked up that eagle, put on his arm, and raised all the way up. And he said, fly. The sky is yours. You are an eagle. Fly. And the eagle looked around and looked down and saw the chickens there. And he jumped out of his arm and went to be with the chickens. And the biologist was not convinced. He said, no, I'm not convinced. Tomorrow we'll try again. Next day he picked up the eagle and he climbed all the way to the roof of the house. And he put the eagle there and he put all in the arm and he said, fly, you are an eagle, fly away. And the eagle looked around, saw a bunch of people and looked down, saw the chickens and jumped and went down to be with the chickens. The biologist was still not convinced and he said, let me try one more time. Tomorrow we're going to go out of here, out of the farm. And they picked up the eagle next day morning. And they took all the way up on the top of the mountain. And the sun was shining beautifully. And he got on top of the mountain, he put the eagle on his arm, and he said, fly away. The sky is your limit. You're an eagle. Fly. You're free. The eagle looked around. Didn't see any chicken. Didn't see anything. But the sky, beautiful, the sun shining, spread the wings and flew away. And they started looking at the eagle until the eagle disappeared. They couldn't see no more. That's what we are. We are born citizens of God's kingdom, friends, and there is nothing that is going to change that unless if you want to. That eagle was born as an eagle. If the farmer would have left that eagle there with the chickens, they probably would never fly away. But once you have a choice to assume that citizenship that God gave you, you become a patriot. Just being a citizen, friends, is not enough. You read what Brother Paul read. You heard what Brother Paul read in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 5. He predestined us for adoption of sons, and though Jesus Christ, according to the purpose of His will. We are sons of God, no matter what takes place. We are citizens of His kingdom, no matter what takes place. But friends, just be a citizen is not enough. Just be a citizen is not enough. Just take advantage of being a citizen of God's kingdom is not enough. If you think that just being a citizen of God's kingdom because God adopted you as a citizen of His kingdom, it's enough, you're going in the wrong direction. You must be a patriot in order to see Jesus. You can't see Jesus just thinking that because Jesus died on the cross for all of us and you're automatically saved. You must be a patriot. He predestined us to be citizens of the kingdom, to be sons of God. But we must act like a citizen. We must act like a citizen. We must show everyone that we are patriots. There are many people out there that are only citizens, but they don't know they are citizens yet. We have to go and tell them so they can become patriots. Being a patriot, it's do what Paul did. Share the gospel. Show others that you are a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. And tell others that they are also citizens of God's kingdom. But they need to be patient. May God bless you.